Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they're kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
You got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special emergency midweek edition / make good of NXT Then Now Forever version of One Nation Radio. Rich, what the fuck is going on? Eric Bischoff, Paul Heyman, is it 1998? Is it 1997? 95?
This has been an assault on the news cycle from literally Monday. I didn't watch Raw and SmackDown, and it doesn't matter. We won't be talking about Raw and SmackDown at all. We have Eric Bischoff rolling out of bed after being on a podcast and lying for like over a year now with Conrad. That seems to be the new ticket into the game, or back into the game, I should say. Lying his way into a job as the top guy in SmackDown behind Vince, essentially. And Paul Heyman, who may be deteriorating in front of our eyes if you look at some of his recent work of late, gets handed the keys on Monday Night Raw. You got Seth Rollins playing Cap all over the app. You got him getting just made to look. He loses a fucking Twitter war to Will Ospreay of all people.
Okay.
And then the WWE's deciding to start streaming head to head, amidst some competition.
Okay, so
yeah,
you just hit people with the shotgun blast and the shot sprayed everywhere. So let's take one thing at a time. Okay, so I'm just gonna read off a news article.
So this is the cap gun. So this is the cap gun from Harlem Nights now. Does the one shot?
I don't know what this is anymore. I don't know what this is. Like, after this show, I'm going to go to the refrigerator and I'm going to get what I hope is water, because I don't know what anything is anymore. I don't know what. Anyway, so Sports Illustrated first reported that Paul Heyman has been named executive director of Raw, and Eric Bischoff has been named the executive director of SmackDown. It has noted that both will report directly to Vince McMahon. WWE.com also posted the story confirming that news. WWE's article stated that Heyman and Bischoff will oversee creative development of WWE's flagship programming and ensure integration across platforms and lines of business. The creation of these roles further establishes WWE's ability to continuously reinvent its global brand while providing two distinct creative processes for its flagship shows. Oh boy. I don't know. I didn't read Meltzer's edition this week yet or whatever else, but did it kind of narrowed down what the possibilities are yet, or is it because it's Thursday, we still don't fucking know, because they don't even know until it's going to be like Monday before 4 p.m.
So the deal is they're going to slowly assimilate into their jobs. One would think by, July, this would end up being established. The first thing that came to my mind immediately, and I was tweeting about it, was, wow, this is like Bill Watts in 1995 when, Vince wanted to quote unquote hand over power to somebody in creative, but then he started letting Bill Watts know that, actually all the decisions go through me still. And Bill Watts quit within weeks because he wanted to go with Bret Hart as a more realistic, tough champion. And by that time, Vince had wanted to replace Bret with Shawn, and Watts was like, he won't draw. And Watts was right, but like Heyman and Bischoff, they both worked for Vince previously. Heyman's had the role, a couple times before and has flamed out spectacularly in the ECW relaunch, and in 2002 when he was caught listening to fucking phone calls of the other team's creative meeting.
Well, just because he was in on a conference call and they traced it to his parents' house does not mean that it was in fact Paul Heyman. It just came from his parents' house. So don't jump to conclusions, okay? Don't do that.
Right.
That's
allegedly.
Okay,
allegedly.
So then
Bischoff, he's 23 years removed from a good idea. So yeah.
Okay, so I heard the same thing, and one of my first thoughts was Bill Watts. Another of my thoughts was Jerry Jarrett when Vince thought he was going to go behind the wall. So I just don't know. I don't know what's going on. And a lot of us, we think this has part with the future with the XFL. Also, the immediacy of going into October on Fox with SmackDown Live on Fridays. We also had some. There's also some talk of what their roles will be and what kind of power they'll actually have. I guess that's still up in the air. We don't know, which means until further notice, still believe that like they're just guys. They're just middle management. So
yeah.
So like, if you think there's some sweeping change, don't hold your breath until the change actually comes, if there is any. And the talk about Heyman, and I trust Heyman for this spot a hell of a lot more than Bischoff, but at the same time, it's not like Heyman ain't back there most of the time already any damn way for the last, I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years. So I don't know.
Right. He's not looking spectacular himself, and people are still wondering what Triple H's role is going to be in all this. If he's going to have like essentially what he is in NXT, if Heyman and Bischoff are going to be that, and if they're working together, that still hasn't been figured out. This is just absurd, though. Like, it's like,
I mean, I don't really have an issue with that.
This is like the home of the retreads. This is and Josh actually made a good point on this. Is like, he's Vince McMahon's at war, so he's gonna call the dudes he was going to war with 20 years ago and see if they got any ideas. That's all this is. Like, they brought back Bruce Pritchard, they brought Jeff Jarrett in. It's like Vince has probably tuned all these people out by this point. This is a company that is scrambling. That's like, what this is.
It's funny in an era where if you said, go collect the best bookers in the world, and you will pile up Triple H and Gato and like Rossy Ogawa and I mean, you can say Scott D'Amore. He's putting together a good product. I mean, Gabe Sapolsky, because he's been doing it for so long, and had to replenish so many of the talent that got rated over the years at Ring of Honor, and then now evolve into NXT.
He eventually just bought in.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's I'm sure there's a few people names I'm forgetting, but those are ones that immediately come to mind, right? And what they decided to do is, no, bump that. Like, we are going to grab guys that were guys that had, you know, legitimate genius at different points in the 90s, but the year's 2019. And it's like, look, man, sometimes the games pass you by. Sometimes the game passes you by, and look no further than sports. Like, we talk about this all the time when you got Joe Gibbs. He was a genius in the 80s and the 90s. He wasn't a genius in his second run in the 2000s with the Redskins. Al Davis.
I remember that.
Al Davis was legitimately one of the sharpest minds in the history of professional football. Look at his run was aside or after Gruden left for the Bucs. Look at his run in the 90s. Like, he was not the genius that he was in the 70s and 80s, right? I mean, Phil Jackson.
And a lot of this goes to that. Like, Phil Jackson, we saw him lose it at the end. Like I used to joke that he used to fall asleep on the bench. Like, and then he was all this stuff about him not traveling to road games and different stuff like this. It was like, yo, man, like, I don't really get, like, I don't know if people were supposed to be excited about this move, like, because it's funny. I haven't been able to locate any of the ratings don't matters motherfuckers and all this other stuff. With the sweeping change that's about that tells me something was wrong, James.
Well,
these people are hiding right now, throwing rocks and hiding in hands right now.
So the people that are normally on that noise are even mentioning anything, or even saying anything along the lines of they like the move, they're positive about the move, or they don't know, or they just know where to be found on the timelines.
I ain't seen them.
You ain't never seen them
Starbase the little flip? I ain't never seen them before.
Wow. All right.
So yeah, you know, it's amazing.
See, I mean,
so.
See, the thing is, I think that anyone that's been watching their TV product or has been turned off by their TV product in the last, let's say, post-WrestleMania, I believe a lot of them are just wary of virtually anything. And even you know, someone like Finishell, who was constantly someone that was, you know, he was nicknamed Eternal Optimist, and we would always think that, like, I don't know, like, he's watching them shows while he's high on laughing gas or something. I don't know, but you know, some of the people that are some of the more positive people that I interacted with on a regular basis are all just like, yeah, the show shot. It's a shot. Like, I mean, you can say I can say names. I put names with names. Like, we just mentioned Dave Finishell, Chad's long been unenthused with the product ever since, like, you know, the summer last year where you got up and bounced because they belted up Brock again, and he was heading that way, go to WrestleMania 35 anyway. Rance is like, yeah, this isn't good right now. You know, Floyd's like, yeah, this ain't good right now. And so I don't know if this situation where, like, everything's so down in the dumps right now, aside from a match here and there, because I mean, I'm not going to say what Seth said, because what Seth said was ridiculous. They don't have the best. They don't have the best wrestling in the world. They have the best wrestlers in the world. So when they go out there and they put on and have, you know, some good ass matches from time to time, like, that's a reason to check in. That's the reason I always say, like, they can always fix this. They have so much talent, they can always, you know, turn it around. Do I think they're going to turn it around at this point? I'm doubtful. But yeah.
And it seems like this week.
Let me go ahead. So the thing is, there's so much of that around, right? Where even, like, the people that are, you know, the apologists, the Fed Defense Squatters, like, even them, like, when they're arguing with people online about how stupid we are for being so down in the dumps or toxic or whatever else, like, even them, like, their stuff right now isn't about, like, defending the product. It's about, like, how toxic people are around the thing, which makes, like, everything so bad for the wrestlers, which there's truth to that. But, like, then the people that were defending this product, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever else, like, that's where we are right now. To where they're not even doing that. But I think there's so much of that around there that you can't even deal with wrapping your head around like whether or not this may actually be, you know, a change in the right direction. Like it's just like, oh, it's some other shit they've done and we'll see. It like that's where we are with WWE right now. Everything is we'll see.
It's like another damn wild card rule. It's like we don't know what's real and what's like fiction right now with these people. Yeah. And it seems like it came all to a turning point this week with the poor attendance for Stomping Ground, where they were giving away thousands of tickets and sectioning off the building completely. And then 3,500 and 2,500 for Raw and SmackDown, and 2,500 was in Portland. And it's funny because I read this in the Observer. The impact of Tacoma on wrestling history. Where was in 2001 the same city?
Was that the Bagwell and Booker T match where they said pull the plug on the shit?
Yes. Like and then like a big adjustment to the landscape, and then this one, like when this war's jumping off and they go to Tacoma and it's like it ain't hitting on nothing, and then you know they run Everett and there's like 3,500 people at a Raw. That's like mid 1990s numbers. And, you know, they say Vince is a guy that does not like to make excuses for numbers. So I offer this to people. If Vince doesn't want to make any more excuses, why do you?
I mean, I've always heard that, but it's like, if that is the case, then why doesn't he ever, like, do what's right? Or why does he rarely ever resort to doing the right thing to fix it? And I mean, like, people aren't watching the product not because, you know, the wrestlers aren't entertaining enough, or there aren't, or there are other things to watch. It's the product is incoherent from week to week, and you are not rewarded for spending your time watching it. And the investment you have to make to watch it is so high that it has to be coherent and good and pay and build off of previous weeks to make it worth your time. They've never addressed that. They have gotten worse with that over the last. Well, we've been watching this against the pipe bomb and this is 11, right? So you said this, So that's what 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you're heading to 19. We're heading into 8 years of that. It's worse than it's been in the last 8 years we've been watching this. So, I understand, like, Vince is not a wrestling guy. He is a spectacle guy. He's always more into the sizzle than the steak. But
also, like, it's funny you bring that up. Vince has no idea what's going on or outside of WWE in his own wrestling. Like, he's completely out of touch, not connected, doesn't know what's going on, doesn't watch anything, doesn't know what's hot in the world. And this is like
Rich.
This is like how I was saying about the Lakers. It's like he's fucking with people he worked with 20 years ago and all this other shit. Like it's ridiculous.
He's absolutely been isolated in that. And also another part about it is like Vince has always been very closed off as far as how he reacts to the rest of the wrestling world. Like, I always joke about how, WWE is the market share leader of wrestling, and Vince sees it as this closed off thing where it's his own thing. Like, it's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment, and sports entertainment is like, do you want a tablet or do you want an iPad? Do you want a smartphone or do you want an iPhone? Like, for me, the stories that you always hear about how closed off he is, like, that's been going on for decades. Like, you hear the story of Pritchard.
And it's worse off now.
Right. But you hear the story of Pritchard. Pritchard had to convince Vince to sign Eddie Guerrero when the Radicals are coming in, because he met him in a meeting and he was taller than him, and then Pritchard had to say, like, yeah, he is short, but he's the Mexican Shawn Michaels. he had to, so like that's 1999. Eddie Guerrero at that point in time was, he was credentialed around the world. He had a stint in WCW at a point in time. Like that was a guy that was, that had that
a super talent.
That was somebody that was well known and established as a talent that was worth it. Remember how like he fucked off with Vader, like when he could have they could have sold billions or millions of dollars worth of tickets and merchandise against Undertaker, and they fucked that off too. So like we know that he is closed off, and you know they always do the whole thing where it's like, whatever you did before doesn't matter until you get here, pal. Ha 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 ha, and all the other nonsense. So yeah, like I get that.
Bro, and this is even worse, like with Bischoff, like, because we made that Bill Watts example, and it's like Bill Watts was like even less connected in a slower moving era then, and he was out of touch. Bischoff, like, how different is the wrestling business right now than it was last summer? Like, Bischoff's not plugged into this shit. Like, he's like, that Bischoff hire is the really bad one. He's borderline unhireable. Like at this point, like
I mean,
how he
besides
how he did in TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what he did in TNA, absolute disaster. And you know Hogan's not far away if Bischoff is around, right?
Are they still friends? I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Big time friends.
Good for them.
And then, you know, he had the Cruiserweight division, which he stole from ECW, and he had the NWO, which he stole from New Japan.
Yeah.
So what does Eric Bischoff really have going for him right now? Like is he going to open the first SmackDown and strip all the champions of their titles and joke that he doesn't have scissors?
Shit.
Like I don't know what the fuck it is. No, that was him.
Oh God. Yikes. Okay, so
yeah,
it's funny because Jeremy was like, yeah, you know, like what if Bischoff is like has actual power and he's like, yeah, Andrade, like give that guy a push. I'm like, trust me, Andrade ain't get like Bischoff ain't giving Andrade no push. Hell no. Like he'll push him as mid card. He'll push him as a mid carder. Nah, like main eventer. Hell, fuck no. No. To quote Shazam, hell, fuck no, Superman. So, just no, that's not gonna happen. Let's see. So what's next? I mean, is there anything else you want to drop on this? Because I'm just thinking that like
it's like all the old guys now are all on one side. All the old guys from 20 years ago are all on one side now, and then it's against all the new guys that are popping right now. And it's like we gonna see it. And I want all the smoke. I want them to compete hard as hell, both sides, because it's like, all right, let these Twitter fires go off that we all about to talk about. I loved it this week. Like snort it, like crush it up and let me snort it. Like it's just been like insane. And that's what I want. We're all gonna see who's the best, right?
I guess. I don't know. I guess we can move on and talk about, since we talked about the Twitter stuff, we can move on to talking about Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. Is there anything else you want to drop on it? Because we talked about it, like, you know, as it was kind of happening, and yeah, it's...
So we didn't really get into the self-will thing. So the thing we were talking about Sunday was, like, where he was talking about was the best pro wrestler in the world. We knew that was Cap, obviously, and everything like that. But then he started like switching it up, you know, and throwing qualifiers on it.
Yeah.
And talking about, you know, can't nobody do what I do every night and all this other stuff like that. And it's like,
oh no,
find somebody alive.
I remember. Well, I think the argument was no one can do it, what I do as well as I do as often as I do it. And then Ospreay was like, I'm alive, which is like, yeah. So then he responds and he calls him a little guy, even though they're basically the same size. Like how
tries to bring Ricochet into it to pit him against Ospreay, knowing they're homeboys and everything like that.
Yeah,
he looked like a dummy. Like he looked like a dummy and he looks like he's in the bubble and he's out of touch, not knowing that he was talking to the 2019 Wrestler of the Year right now, and a dude that's literally, if you think about it, we're at the same age. Ospreay is what, 26 now?
Yeah,
like he's a bigger star than Rollins at 26, a better wrestler at 26, and you know he just looked ridiculous, like in the light, pretty much. And when it came out that you know Ospreay's actually worked more matches than him, and then when you get to the point of quality, all those house shows that happen in Montana and Idaho stuff, like them shits don't count. Newsflash, motherfucker! Like it's like we're not seeing those 2.5 star matches that you're doing at a random house show.
Yeah,
I get that you want to, you know, like I'm not tripping on the fact that he thinks he's the best, right? But when you come out there and do that little guy shit, and then while you just look stupid, you let Will Ospreay dunk on you and be like, yeah, that ain't, really where it's at. And then, Baron Corbin got into it.
I think the one that really got him. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Talk about the Corbin one.
Yeah, Corbin was like, I've wrestled more matches than Will Ospreay, and then Ospreay literally within minutes was like, and that's why Raw sucks, and that was amazing. And what were you gonna get to?
Yeah, so the transition from that with Seth is to, I think that what happened was Ospreay was scheduled to do the interview with Alvarez and Meltzer, and like, Alvarez had hinted that was coming for days. So the timing of it, like what matched up with the Seth thing, was like, because he had teased that they were going to be doing a special interview for a few days, like that happened before. All that stuff like just happened along the way, and I guess Ospreay tried to use it to his benefit to hype himself or whatever else, or maybe he didn't. But either way, like that thing had been planned. So they're doing that, and they point out to like, oh yeah, by the way, like you actually had wrestle more matches than Seth this year. So then he's like, I'm going to mention that, and he did. And then Rollins goes on to say, well, you want to talk about numbers? Let's look at the bank account. And it's like, well, we can if you want to, but like, how about like you start off with that if that's your best move? If your go-to is I got more money than you, then like say that every single time you hop on Twitter, because that'll win you a lot of arguments, wouldn't it? As opposed to,
I'll be like, look here, Seth. Since you want to talk about bank accounts, why don't you compare your bank account to Brock Lesnar's bank account? Then, like, you want to take it there?
I was like, so that's what I thought. I was like, oh, so now because his bank account is Brock Lesnar and Chris Jericho the best wrestlers in the world now? Because they can make more money than everybody else per match. Or Undertaker too? Undertaker as well, because he's probably. He's wrestled once a year or twice. He's going to wrestle like 2 or 3 times a year. He make $1 million per match. So what are we doing now? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So
like bad look, Seth. All around there, and then it only got worse from there.
But the main thing is like, you say a statement. Ospreay didn't say nothing out of pocket to you. He said, "Yeah, like I'm better than you." Like that's the gist of what he said. He didn't say anything crazy. Then Rollins starts insulting him. Then he says, "Dude, you talk about these matches. Like I've actually wrestled more matches than you." Then he goes and says, "Like, well, I had a broken back," and I was like, "Seth,
well, you ain't say that."
No, it's like, Seth, I understand you had a broken back, and I hope that it's healed up, and that's a terrible injury to have that something like that, and like that's safe WWE style though. But yeah, I hope you're good now, and there's no chance for injury. However, like this pro wrestling, bro, like everybody's hurt. Like
yeah,
it kind of go hands in hand in the thing.
And the thing with Rollins, and I actually had a conversation with Tom from the Military Industrial Suplex podcast privately about this stuff, and I kind of rolled it in the conversation with you. It was like, Rollins, he is a guy at this point that wants something that kind of no longer exists for him. Like he is like an artist that has gone pop and still wants the love from the streets right now. Meanwhile, the streets have moved on, Jack. Your style is generic. It's like he wants something rather than leaning into who Seth Rollins is. He can't ever be who Seth Rollins was, and obviously this is falling in line with the leg injury that we always talk about on this show. Mm-hmm. And like he wants to own something that no longer exists for him. Like you don't get that love anymore. Like you don't get Ospreay's space anymore. Especially like it not being close at all with their resumes have been the last not just this year, last year, the year before that. Like I don't know, how long you want to take this back to give Seth a fair chance. But
I mean, it's been completely different since he blew out his knee. Maybe 2016 when he first came back, when the stretch run he had, like with that Shield triple threat match in his first match back against Roman. But outside of that, nah, it's not. It hasn't really been much of the same. And the thing that gets me is, I don't. What is this for aside from, there are people inside of WWE around the world that watch wrestling around the world, love wrestling, did wrestling for years with a bunch of other people around the world. And, it's almost like how everybody knows everybody, right? We always talk about how wrestling is such an incestuous
and he got a lot of heat within
Go ahead.
He got a lot of blowback and heat within the business, like for disrespecting the dude, like what Ospreay's like rep right now. Like people didn't like that Seth did this, and it came off as arrogant and disrespectful. And knowing that, like the level of guy you're talking to, like it made Seth look real bad.
Yeah, especially when
within the business,
especially when you like the guy that like I've seen wrestle Bryan Danielson in Ring of Honor before. It's like.
He forgot where he came from.
Literally, I mean, like maybe not. It's just a stunning lack of self-awareness to go out there and say that. And if you're one of the people that have, kind of sold your soul or whatever you want to call it, that's less pejoratively, or negative sounding than that. Like if you're a person that says I'm going to be a company man and I didn't sell out, I bought in. If you fully bought in or whatever else. Congratulations. We always make the joke that like One Nation Radio should be labeled as One Nation Radio. We can't wait to sell out. Like that's cool, but like if once you do that, like have the awareness to know that like that's what you've done, and like you don't need to lie about where we or pretend that that's not who you are. Like. All of this stuff he said, like, with a few word changes, like, it doesn't blow up into what it blew up into, and he does not out here looking super bad with the whole Seth or the whole Ospreay thing, because all he had to say was, we have the best wrestlers in the world. I'm sure he gets blowback, whatever people look at and say, New Japan, look at, the fifth best wrestler is maybe Ishii or some shit like that. Like, cool. But you look at the depth of talent where you have freaking Hector Garza, like, just now getting on TV, is like, okay, yeah, you do. But once he says it's best wrestling, it's like,
but with Seth,
no.
Seth is largely leaning on this straw man argument because we know that's not the problem. It's Vince, and obviously he doesn't want to say that. So he's creating answers for questions that weren't asked, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not understanding this. I want to be a company man. You can't blame him for sticking up for whoever and all this stuff. It's like the problem is Vince.
And the thing is about like you can stick up for the company without having to lie.
Easily.
Like all you have to do is push the talent. All you have to do is promote the talent and buy the talent. It's like we have the best wrestlers in the world. We have the most talented people. We have all these people that are, so positive coming to work and they try so hard and blase squad. But whatever, like he did what he wanted to do and y'all don't have to lie about it. I mean, it's fine. Like I'm not holding against him. It's not like I'm like on some cancel Seth Rollins shit. Like he's just talking shit and it's like it's pro wrestling. But
right
at the same time, it's like we're just like people are kind of over it with that back and forth thing, and it was like once you tie in the Moxley thing as part two, like part of it's a separate thing, and then like the fact that all this came out together is kind of like you look at it in total, you're just like, yo, this dude's like really like decided to like be an asshole this week. What's going on?
It's like he's a champion. And he's got all this bad business occurring under his watch as a top guy, and a lot of people think he's cracking.
So you think he's lashing out?
He's lashing out. Like somebody need to sit that man down. Becky need to give that man a hug. Let it go, player. Like, and this isn't the first time ratings have nosedived on a Seth Rollins title reign and everything like that. That's why I always had kind of in October. I was like, I have questions about Seth at the top of the card, and I was like, I'm specifically going to like start bringing attention to this because when it happens, the chickens are going to come home to roost, and right now they are roosting. So with the Moxley thing, did you bring that up?
Well, Well, the thing for me is like you're talking about the lashing out thing. So it's like, and because like things going all bad and or whatever else. So like, do you think this like all this whole, I guess you say this the Saturday through Monday or Tuesday or whatever else it was, like those 3-4 days is like all that tied together is like his Denzel and Training Day speech at the end is like, all you motherfuckers. You gonna do this to me?
He was,
you niggas be playing basketball on Pelican Bay. Who the fuck you think you is? I'm the fucking police. I'm rushing here. You just live here. I mean,
John Cena wouldn't do no shit like this.
I mean, we have an example of the Cena thing that people have been throwing around about when Punk left, and you know, I think a lot of that comes with. I think a lot of that at that point comes with like Cena's from a different era. Like Cena came from an era where like it wasn't as it wasn't exactly the only show in town when he was first getting into the business. Like when Cena was doing those indies or whatever else, like there was still like the very last of WCW around. Like he had to rub some shoulders against guys that knew that like, look man, like this is how it kind of was before. This was the mentality, like, you're here to wrestle and you run into people or whatever else, and, like, brand loyalty. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say there's anybody that's more WWE than John Cena has ever been, but he grew up in a time where, like, that wasn't necessarily the biggest thing in the world. It was about making as much paper as you possibly could in that time. Or he was around a bunch of people that were definitely on that lifestyle, and he grew up in it, too, and know to, like, look, man, end of the day, this is a job. I love this job with all my heart, but this is a job. Seth is taking this shit to where it's like he really believed all the shit. It seems like he is really all in and believes all the shit that like he's been, you know, told. Like they were talking about how Stephanie went to Full Sail, was it 2-3 weeks ago, and gave a pep speech or whatever. Pep
sounds
talk,
eerily familiar,
right?
Don't it?
Yeah, and he gave a pep talk, and they promote all, and they give the same PR media stuff to the talent or whatever that you read, and you're just like, oh, so you're trying to tell me that like WWE has more Twitter followers than the NBA and blah 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 because you know do the add-up number, like they sell that same shit to their talent, and if you're there long enough, you could buy into it, right? Even though, like,
you can fully fall into that shit.
So it's like there are going to be some people, especially because you know that's all for a lot of people. That's the end destination to get to WWE at all costs, whatever it takes, right? Like that's the only show in town or whatever else. I'm not saying that's necessarily how Seth started out or if that's how Seth feels, but he's definitely taking that kind of tone where it's like that's the thing, and it's like he's older, he's further removed than like someone like Cena was, so he's like, oh, you want to leave? All right, well, you leaving creates like a power vacuum. I'm trying to grab some of that. Like you had some oomph as far as creative to try to tell Vince no, whatever. He'll listen to you when you say this shit sucks or whatever else. He probably tells you no, but he'll sit there and listen. I'm one of those people. I want to grab some of that. Like I want to be one of those, you know, the foxhole guys or whatever else. And we've always said that a lot of us. I mean, it's obvious that Seth is a person that they've always had plans for, someone they've always cared about, but they never cared about as much as Reigns. Like with Seth, with Ambrose
Seth
gone,
sees the opportunity
he has
right
a chance to grab some of that to try to, you know, help himself up the corporate ladder into a future and a commitment or whatever else. Like, there's always going to be lieutenants and JBL, Mark Henry types. Why can't Seth Rollins be one of them people? Locker room leader.
And I think he sees the I think he sees the opening with Reigns and him coming off that return and it not really meaning much for business right now. So I think Rollins sees some type of opening.
Don't get it fucked up. As bad as they're fucking up Roman right now, he's still a bigger star than Seth. It ain't even close. It still ain't even close.
Yeah. Then it goes into Seth Rollins selling out his homeboy with the you took your ball and went home shit. And this is like, you know, the other part is just wrestling and looking stupid on Twitter for the most part. This is like where you start peeping, you know, what kind of dude this is, what kind of, you know, character this is, who may have put him up to this, because, you know, this isn't the first time we've heard lines about people taking their ball and going home. We've heard that about CM Punk. We've heard that about Austin, and they made The Rock do that before to him, knowing the respect those guys had between each other. But we were led to believe that this was a brotherhood between Rollins and Ambrose. I imagine that Ambrose woke up, or Moxley, excuse me, woke up Monday morning or Tuesday morning and heard that interview with Richard Deitch and was like, "You motherfucker." Like, because Seth tried to word it to where he was like, "Oh, you know, he's a big boy, he can do what he wants," and then he snuck the jabs in, and, you know, talking about maybe he couldn't handle the schedule. And like you pointed out, James, like, isn't that complete bullshit?
Yeah, it's funny because on one end he says, like, yeah, he tried his hardest, but at the end of the day, he took his ball and went home. And it's like, all right, well, for most of your tenure on the main roster, when y'all were both there, or while you were there, Seth, Seth or Dean Ambrose was the Iron Man of the company for that whole tenure. Like, no one worked more dates than him, probably. I'm not for sure. I have to look it up, but he had a couple years where he had like 2 or 3 years where he did more matches than anybody else. So, and that didn't really stop until the injury at the end of 2008 or end of 2017. So, you know, for that person to be labeled as a person that couldn't handle it is like,
well, who can?
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like, all right, sure.
And then to take your ball and went home thing, it's like Ambrose Moxley didn't quit. He didn't ask for his release. He fulfilled his contractual obligations, and isn't that the way everyone wants everyone to do it, James? Well, don't they want them to work their dates and be a good little soldier and show up to the very end and be appreciative and not make the company look bad, like on your way out to put people over? That's what the fuck this dude did. Yeah. Looked like taking his ball and going home. It looks like he grabbed his ball and was like, you know what? This fucking gym sucks. Like the rims are bent. The players like suck. The coaching is terrible. I'm going to go to this gym on the other side of the town where all the facilities are new and they have a game plan of what they want to do. That's what it sounds like.
My analogy to was like, yeah, sure, he took his ball and went home because the game was over. Like, that's what you do when the game's over. You go the fuck home. And when the contract ended, the game was over. He got $500 for the end when the buzzer sounded, even though for the fucking minimum. But yeah, the buzzer rang. He slapped files with y'all. He said deuces, and then that man vanished into the vapors.
Yeah.
Actually, he vanished. He vanished out of the prison and ran from them fucking dogs.
Yes, I'm out of here. Fuck this. I'm going to the other side of the fucking world to get away from y'all. Like, I'm going to Japan to win the red belt. Like, so, like, what do you think about Seth for this? Like, taking aside the fact that this could clearly be a ploy from Vince, like, as a well-constructed, like, hit job from Rollins to start, you know, on Twitter and then roll right into the pre-planned interview with Sports Illustrated to actually do this stuff, because those words do come directly from Vince. Okay. Like, no one's convinced me otherwise.
So, I mean,
like, if that's not the case, or if this is Seth's, like, I guess elaborate on like both situations.
The only two ways I can see it is like if it's a situation to where he was instructed or asked or hinted at to say those sorts of things and do this sort of thing, is like, okay, now what happens with you as far as like the next few towns on TV? Like,
yeah,
if this idea is to be a slow burn to turn you heel, okay, cool. Who are the top baby faces on Raw? AJ and Ricochet, right? Anybody else?
And they're fighting each other.
They're fighting each other right now. But it's like, okay, cool. I don't know what that means for you going into SummerSlam as far as programming. If you were the person that's turning heel, or if it's a situation where you think you're rallying the base, got to kind of tell you, bro, the way your base is kind of dwindling. Kind of seems like the people that's kind of around left are like the hardcores, and the people that are hardcores are you have a good chance of getting rejected as a babyface now, even though you're a champion and whatever. It was really I don't know, man. I don't know where this goes. Like, if he gets booed come Monday or at the next pay-per-view or whatever else, or people start to shit on his matches like he's Roman or somebody, like, I can see it. I won't be surprised.
I feel like the boos are waiting for him in Philly.
That's next pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the boos are coming because that match is gonna suck. So,
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, Lacey and Baron Corbin in a tag team in the main event of a pay-per-view. What could possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything else you got going? You want to talk about? Speak on this part, or you want to move on? Because I think we've talked.
I think he's a sucker for selling out his homeboy like that.
Yeah. I think it's a bad look. I mean, no way around it. No way around it. It's absolutely a bad look. Like, I hope if they're as friendly as they've always been made out to be, that or they were sold as being, then I hope that, like, before this went public or whatever else, or before he even did the interview, he was able to reach out to Ambrose and say, "Hey, man, I got, we kayfabers, bro. I'm gonna have to go upside your head real quick for the company, for the cloud." And
one can only hope that happened.
Yeah, like,
or else.
Yeah. I mean, like, if they are as cool as they've sold, as them and the company have sold them to be, including Moxley at the end of the Jericho podcast, where he's like, "I'm so bummed out you're leaving," and all that kind of stuff. Like, if they are as close as we are to believe them to be, then hopefully he would reach out or beforehand, so this wasn't some shit where Moxley was just blindsided, because that's kind of weak. Kind of weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Let's see, what else is on the menu. Yeah, so... Well... in the show notes, he said, "Overall clownery, this is Vince." I don't know what that means, Rich.
Oh, these are Vince's words. We did that.
Okay, yeah.
My fault.
Okay, so...
Someone need to take Steph's Twitter. That was the bottom line. Like, someone need to tell him to log off. He's hashtagging Team WWE and shit. Like where are the jerseys? Like this is gonna be, woo.
Remember, how long have I been saying that, like, people treat WWE like it's their favorite sports team, like they're the goddamn Washington football team or the New York Football Giants or some shit. It's like, man, just watch the show, because the show brings you some enjoyment, and, like, whatever. Like, if the show's good, be honest. If the show's bad, be honest. If the show is boring, be honest. If the show's entertaining, be honest. You don't have to do that. Like I really enjoy Batman, but if they make a bad Batman movie, I'm going to say they made a bad Batman movie because they made a bad Batman movie. Or I say Superman especially, because normally Superman movies are trash. So, anyway, Evolve... they're running, was it a 10th, what year anniversary of Evolve?
The 10-year anniversary of Evolve.
10-year anniversary of Evolve will be on the WWE Network on what happens to be the same day as AEW's Fight for the Fallen pay-per-view or show or whatever the hell you want to call it. Live event, special gimmick,
streaming
whatever.
event.
Yeah. That was the ones in Jacksonville, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's the second one. So, that news came out a few days ago, and Kenny Omega hopped on Twitter to complain about them putting that small ass show that's going to get very little eyes on at the same time, or the same time slot and day as Fight for the Fallen. And then he deleted his tweet and then commented about how toxic the internet's is, or the Twitter world is, and I'm like, dude, if this is what it took for you to realize that, Like, you ain't learned that lesson last year after the Jacksonville show. I'm sorry, the Daytona show. Like, you haven't, you didn't pick this up last year.
Kenny threw steak out there for the dogs because Kenny's dealing with a large population of people that just hate his fucking guts for whatever reason.
Well, it also helps that he's not actually a likable person. At times, he can be unlikable.
What is unlikable about him? Inform me.
Okay. How do I say this? He comes off as pretentious a lot. That's basically how I can put it. Like, he comes off as a person that is Have you ever heard people talk about, like, Elon Musk or
no.
Okay. Well, the best way I can explain it is he comes off as somebody that easiest way to say it is he comes off as someone that seems he's smarter than he actually is, and especially when it's something like fake fighting, people really take that as like, wow, he's really disingenuous. Like, I see some of it, but like I hear his interviews, I'm like, to me he seems thoughtful, but like to other people that thoughtfulness seems like, oh, like you come into it. And you already have an idea that he's a schmuck. Then you hear him talk. You're all like, the way he talks is going to change your mind on the fact that you've already thought of him as a schmuck. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but when you step into it, like how he did the other day, it's like, well, maybe he's not as smart as he thinks he is. Even though he's a genius at wrestling.
See, that's funny because I don't take Kenny for like a smart guy. like really. So like, you know how people look at a Bushi kind of like, oh, he's just a Bushi.
I treat him like he's Klay Thompson.
Right. like that's how I kind of like
just
look
like
at Kenny.
like a lovable, hardworking dummy.
Yes, like that. That's kind of how I look at Kenny, and then I see like him get like, you know, he gets it from like lots of sections of he gets it from the puro elitists. He gets it from the WWE stands. He gets it from the Roman Reigns fans. He gets it from Reigns fans. Oh yeah. Like, you know, they don't like the fact that he was on the other side of the world in Japan playing video games on a stream. Like, you know, they ain't like that during the whole deals. But his tweet was like, if lining your pockets with blood money is okay, then what's wrong with trying to undermine a charity show for victims of gun violence? I hear that healthy competition is supposed to feel like a good or be a good thing, and yet I can't help but feel like I'm gonna be sick. So
and it's
fight for the fallen.
No, but the thing for me is like, well, you're the one that's starting this war. What did you expect? Do you really think that So it's like, on one end is like, people think people think that he is a smart guy or he's a put on smart guy, and then he says something like as if he's naive, and it's like, motherfucker, you're not naive. You knew what the fuck this was when you decided to sign a dotted line, and they were going to try to do different shit at different points if you ever got so successful to try to curb your success. It's common sense. It's the game theory. So it's like, it's the game theory. You play video games. Don't you know the game theory? So it's like, come on, get the fuck together, Kenny. Like,
so it's like, also the charity. When I read it, I was like, this is gonna go horrible. Like, because when I saw the part about undermining a charity show, he like tried to like really highlight that, we know what, like, all right, the cause is the cause. Like, it's awesome. They're donating like. All the proceeds from what I'm hearing now. Look, that's actually not the conversation we're having here, though. Right. Like, we know what this is.
Right. And also, look, man, we people give WWE shit all the time when they do their charitable and philanthropic stuff on TV. And you always have that Stephanie quote that she still hasn't deleted all these years later. You can just go and type in on Google, Stephanie McMahon charity, and it still pops up and you can go and watch the Twitter where it says, you know, the future of advertising is charity, and that's how companies are going to win. And that that goes hand in hand with this AEW show. Absolutely, no way around it, right? That like they're doing that show, and they're also doing the charity, giving the money to a charitable cause. How much of it? Don't know. Don't really care. If it turns out to be a scam, someone will find out, and then we can blast them when it happens or whatever else. Until then, don't know, don't care. So you have that, but also another benefit of doing the show is to help figure out how much clientele you have and viewership you have on the Bleacher Report,
on the free gimmick, and get a fan base, get a clientele and a mailing list of emails to be able to send blasts off for promotion for AEW when it kicks off at different points and do different events. Like, ain't nobody dumb. We know the game. We know what this is. In the words of Drake, I know what this is. Yeah. I don't know if a lot of people actually thought about it that deep. So hopefully, if you hadn't thought about it that deep and you're listening, like, oh, okay, that's what the show is. It's two birds, one stone. Like, it's 2 birds, 1 stone, and it's fine. But the charity thing or whatever else, like, yeah, there's merit to that. How much compared to what? I mean, if you ask me what they're mostly trying to do, I would probably put it at a 50-50 split. But once you put it at a 50-50 split, then like you can't say that you are so genuine and holier than thou to begin with. Yeah, like it's a work, everybody. So like, and these guys are workers. So much of workers. They were able to start their own company. Like so. He later ended up, as James mentioned, deleting the tweet and everything like that. Still catching hell, but whatever. He'll move on.
It's toxic.
And he's wrestling Shima that day. So if you think you ain't about to see a motivated Kenny Omega to shove it up people's asses that day, I got news for you. So, what was next on the list?
Oh, yeah. I forgot that I'm the one that's hosting the show. So, after that, we have more talk of the Wrestling Wars. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to NBA free agency. Hold on. We're going into NBA free agency, and there's tons of cap room from a bunch of teams around the league.
Oh, it's cap, all right.
Well, let me finish my point. Because there's so many top free agents, there are so many teams that are trying to land these max level players, super max level players, that there's going to be a lot of cap space around. And with that cap space around, the upper middle class of the league is going to stand to gain a lot. So you're going to see a lot of guys that are like the 50th to the 100th to 50th best basketball players in the world. They're going to be getting somewhere in the range of, $18 to $25 million a year, and people are going to laugh, and football players are going to sit there and cry and whine, and baseball players are going to cry and whine, even though we don't even know who the fuck they are, because who watches baseball?
Only Caleb.
Yeah, like, when when Mike Trout is as nationally recognizable as Kenneth Faried, the baseball thing is just it's out of it's completely just out of sight, out of mind.
When they got baseball teams literally about to split their franchise between 2 different cities, and they're selling tickets for $2. There's issues.
Yeah,
Smoke in the city.
Tampa Bay Rays are doing that. They're
selling smoke in the city.
They're selling their tickets for less than the parking. Yes. Yeah. So, the Montreal Rays. Unbelievable. So, anyway, speaking of all that, we brought up
before we do that, before you do that, so we didn't finish on the Evolve thing. The easy solution is Evolve will be on demand on WWE. I don't know the on demand status for Fight for the Fallen. You can watch both shows. That's all.
Yeah. And also, when it talks about running that show, is like, there is not. I would be shocked to find out if there were 100, hell, a dozen people that before this news came out were set to watch Fight for the Fallen, that heard about the Evolve news that aren't related to anybody that's on the fucking card that goes and says, you know what, Evolve's on, let's watch that instead. Sorry. Especially after the success of Double or Nothing. No, people want to watch this fucking show. So,
look,
no.
Motherfuckers might want to...
The Evolve is on as counter-programming that's going to lose. It's like when they put on like teams that lost in the conference championship games, how they put on ESPN Classic, like they'll put like a classic game from previous days of glory on as counter-programming to the Super Bowl because they know like you might be heartbroken because your team lost, so here we'll put that on there as a feel-good type of a moment for you.
Look, they might just have to send Kenny a check or a thank you card or something because motivate these motherfuckers to watch the Indies or whatever. So out of spite.
Well, if I know these days, if anybody is having some
the quote unquote Indies,
yeah, I know these sorts of days. If anybody is getting credit or that deserves of. I'm sorry, I'm screwing this up. I know that these days, the only person that's really asking for credit and thank yous at this point for AEW success is Chris Jericho. So don't send that to Kenny, send that to Chris. So, yeah. Can
we go over some of the superstars? We'll be seeing great NXT superstars like Babatunde on the card.
Oh my God.
Arturo Ruiz on the card.
Is Babatunde? You think Babatunde still wearing those checker pants?
Yes.
God.
You'll get to see future WWE superstar Austin Theory on the show probably. You're gonna have Matt Riddle and Drew Gulak in a match. You're going to have Adam Cole and Tozawa, which should be good. So they're trying to load it up a little bit, but, on demand. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I guess at this point now, cast out the bag. Be on the lookout for Evolve on the second tier streaming of WWE Network, coming later this year.
Whenever that drops. Yeah.
As we're talking about with my analogy about the upper middle class making out. Well, in this case, because of the wrestling war, and WWE is handing out 5-year contracts and doubling the salaries of people left and right, and they've been talking about that for months on end. Well, it seems that WWE has secured and locked in the long-term services of Maria and Mike Kanellis, Jinder Mahal, and Mojo Rawley. Congratulations, guy. Way to secure the bag. Secure the bag.
So 2024. AEW getting people paid in these streets. Send another thank you to Chris Jericho. Send another thank you to Tony Khan. Whenever you got to pay bums to make sure they don't go do podcasts, this is amazing.
That's what you think it is? That's
what it is.
That's like, look, we'll double your salary just so you can sign an NDA.
Yeah, so you don't go on the Chris Jericho podcast. They trying to keep people away.
Oh my God.
5-year deals. This is ridiculous. Isaiah Thomas wouldn't give these out. Billy King wouldn't give these contracts out.
Wow.
Fucking Danny Ainge would have traded them for a 2nd-round pick at least.
Oh my God.
Mick Cupjack wouldn't have signed this contract.
Oh my God. Oh, you talking about the Kobe contract?
No, I'm talking about the Luol Deng contract and the Timothy Mozgov contract. Kobe earned that money.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else? Some GMs out there giving out terrible contracts? Jerry Krause.
I mean, everybody signs a bad deal. Like the Richard Jefferson.
Joe Dumars.
Yeah.
Handing out all that money to Charlie Villanueva and Ben Gordon. What the fuck was wrong with you? Yeah, man. Bums getting paid out here. So Mojo's 32. He'll be there until he's 37. I believe Jinder is probably 32 right now. He'll be there until he's 37. Mike, I think he's about 33, so he'll be there until about 38. If I'm not mistaken. Maria, her contract will take her into her 40s. And hey, God bless them. Get paid. Like in this situation, these people, they weren't going to make an impact anywhere else, I would imagine. But
not unless they do comedy.
Yeah. So WWE decided hey, we'll just pay you, and this is that fuck you money that's going on. So, hey, whoever's up next is gonna be awesome. Like, come like when we start getting these Wednesday night Dynamite ratings and them shits is decent. Oh yeah, I would love for my contract to expire around that time.
Yeah, like I wonder, like the people that are, let's say, like over a year out from reaching free agency, if you will. I wonder what their outlook is going to be as far as when they start hitting them up and say, "Oh yeah, you have." Because I remember a while ago, it was like people that are like within, a year left to 2 years left, and people are hitting them up and saying like, "Yeah, let's go discuss," or whatever else. So my question, I kind of wonder, is like, if you're one of those people that are like, I'm going to try to take this up to the line and try to leverage this to try to get as much money as I possibly can, like, how long before they start burying you before you have to make a decision right then and there before you be like, nah, man, I can't be
like
out
this
there
fine line you gotta walk.
Well, like, I can't be out here letting them bear me, and then I go and get like a 2.5, just to try to get a 2.5 multiplier on what I'm making annually. And by the time I sign that fucking contract, like, my career will be over because they be out here beating me left and right. Like, that's the game you have to play. Like, when are they, like, it's how we talk about with the designated player extension for the max super maxes now, where it's like, it used to be to where like it wouldn't be no pressure on the organization to get the player mind right for the contract until the last year. Now it's like
it's earlier.
It's 2 years, right? Like, people are coming up now and saying like, nah, this shit ain't gonna work. Like, Anthony Davis blew his whole situation up in New Orleans because like this year, because 18 months out, because like the time is now to let them know I'm out. I want out. So like now, because of the AEW shit, is like they hitting you up like it's now or never.
Oh, what's up? you gonna play with it or what? Like,
yeah. I mean, because think about it. Think how they did the Usos. Like, the Usos came down to the wire. They signed. They gave them the titles. They took them, and after rewarding them, and they immediately took the belts right the fuck off of them.
Off of them, yes.
Yeah. So,
oh man, prepare for lots of people to get paid, and Lord knows what those raises were for.
Yeah, like Gallows and Anderson, they're back on TV. Why? Because their deals are coming up in the next 3 months.
You know what that means? It's time to beat them.
It's like, look, we're going to try and get them on TV and try to get one last push, try to keep them. And then if not, then we're going to tell them that, like, they have told us they're going to pull that Ambrose. They're going to come out there and tell us, like, yeah, they are not coming back. Like, they're not going to get no Shield tour or reunion for
no club.
Nah, no club. Hell, think about it. They didn't even fully do the club like when they first came in. You think they finna do it now? Fuck no.
Fucking it up.
Yeah, like, there was I think last week on TV, AJ walked up on him and said, y'all ain't trying hard enough. And I remember you were commenting to me, you're saying, like, imagine walking up on Anderson now that he has a fucking slab of abs to say that he ain't been working hard. Like, he lost his way. Like,
I was like, imagine scripting that.
That's the anti-reality shit we be talking about.
Right.
But, yeah, so, I mean, if you got anything else to talk about, I guess we got to get into last night's NXT.
Oh man, it's I think the wild card rule needs to, like, there's a lot that needs to be fixed.
That's not even on the thing.
No, it's not, because I'm getting to something.
Okay.
So the wild card ties in with the Paul Heyman and Bischoff. They have to figure that out, obviously. And damn, I knew what I wanted to say. Also, the weird edict of the no wrestling during the breaks.
Okay,
and all these 2 out of 3 fall matches that make no sense within the storyline. That these elimination matches that have come out of nowhere now. I'm just so glad that I don't have to watch the show weekly. Yeah, I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on, how weird they're gonna make the shows.
Okay, so I've only since was the last day we did the last show of
29th.
The 29th of May, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I watched the Ricochet and AJ Styles match on or Tuesday morning, right? I heard it was a kick-ass match, so I tuned in and I watched it. And what they did was they pretty much like the opening, technical wrestling at the beginning of the match where they're exchanging holds like a WCW Cruiserweight match. They did all that, and then Gallows and Anderson walk down the ringside, and so then they start doing some rope running, and then Anderson tries to swipe at Ricochet's leg. Ricochet's like, "This is what you trying to do, AJ?" AJ gets out the ring, grabs the mic, and says, I'm not wrestling anymore until those guys leave." So then they go to commercial break, and then they start wrestling. That's how they did that one. For me, that didn't bother me. Now, but that's not a 2 out of 3 falls match. That's not an elimination match that has to stop and then restart. That was the ref is basically holding up the match until these guys leave because he doesn't want to have to DQ the match himself either.
Yeah.
So so it didn't bother me as much as the talk has been around for the last since the last 2 weeks. So, but I can't speak to the rest of it because it's like the elimination matches are stupid because you're literally beating people that have no business losing. Like that's one of the reasons. That's one of the downfalls of the gauntlet matches or whatever else. Is like there's always going to be one person that is the Iron Man of the match, and they're saying to benefit from the match, or whatever else. But ultimately, besides that Iron Man person that's probably not going to win at the end of the match, like the other 3 to 4 people that are just going to lose and be cannon fodder for the Iron Man guy or whatever else, or the person that eventually wins, those people take L's, and those L's matter.
Yeah. They're going to be beating people left and right and wearing out the gimmickry of these matches. So hopefully all this can get addressed. So, and they can convince me to watch this show ever again. So, but NXT, I didn't have any issue watching that. So you want to take a break?
No, we can just run it.
We'll do it live.
Yeah. NXT 513 from June 26, 2019. If I remember correctly, the match opens up with a vignette for the cage match for the NXT Women's title between Io Shirai and Shayna Baszler. I'm pulling up my notes right now. Just give me 1 second. All right, here we are.
So we swapping it up?
What do you mean?
You're doing the new one first?
Yeah, we're just doing a new one. I mean, we're already an hour and 11 minutes, and we'll just do this one. We'll just do the yesterday's episode. So that means you had to watch the retro one for no reason. Sorry, Rich. So,
oh God.
Do you want to bury that show while you're here?
Yes, I will bury it. So when the Vaudevillains came out, at this moment, I knew they wouldn't make it. That was my favorite theme song of theirs. Elias was their opponent as a job guy. This dude was wearing kick pads like he was going to do anything at all with them. He did not. So they had him under the name of T. Perkins. Renee Young on commentary says CrossFit is for chumps. Retroactively taking shots at Seth Rollins for his Moxley comments in the same week. So they had Xavier Woods coming out there. He basically had the Soul Glow hair flip thing. Juice Robinson had interrupted him and was carrying a sign. And all of a sudden, Bull Dempsey's sorry ass came out. He had some of the best theme music, I think, for an NXT guy, but he was stone cold fucking sorry. They were giving this man the verbal blowjob on commentary like he was the second coming of Seth Rollins, Big E, Roman Reigns, everybody they kept mentioning. They forecasted his whole fucking future wrong. They said he modeled himself after Bruiser Brody. Get the fuck out of here. I remember when Kevin Owens got signed, this dude was completely obsolete, and he was back on the indies months later. I remember one time tweeting that Bull Dempsey is sorry, and he liked to tweet vanity searching himself. This guy was wearing a singlet where he was not shaven, like on his chest. He's fat, obviously, and we see his belly button while he's wearing the singlet. If you're wearing that, you're not going to make it in this era, I promise. And I was right. They said at the end of the match, they said lots of great things were to come from that man. Where were they? Narrator, there was not. So Summer Rae was out there. She had to be shook around all that talent that was surrounding her. It was the debut of future WrestleMania main event winner Becky Lynch. She came to the ring jigging and all this other stuff. Sasha and Charlotte were managing her. Becky Lynch was over from day one in this company, and if you are too dumb to realize that, take your head out of your ass.
The reason why she was over because she was an OG Rosebud.
Right. But yeah, Neville and RVD had a pretty decent match. It was a little slow paced. It was okay. Big Cass got a big win, and they saw the return of Enzo Amore. Looks like this is when he returned from his broken leg, and this is when they would eventually start getting some momentum, on their side. They were squared off with Sylvester Laforte's sorry ass and whoever did the other Marcus dude. I forgot what the other dude's name was.
It wasn't Dupree, but it was like something with a D. I can't remember.
Yeah. But yeah, we got a couple debuts here. We saw the ones that worked out, and we saw the ones that didn't. So Elias is double the size he was then.
Yeah, we've seen Elias already before, but he's just like same guy. Just he's a body. Like
literally a jag.
Just a body. So let's say what was the main event? The main event was RVD
the Neville
and Neville, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was just a good match. I mean, yeah. All right, so you ready for the current one? The latest and greatest?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, opening match is the very first match in the opening round of the Breakout Tournament. It is Angel Garza, which I thought was going to be Angel, but, if they're going to fully Americanize him, then call him Angel, I guess. So, Angel Garza versus DJ Z, who now goes by the name of Joaquin Wilde. He doesn't have the hair anymore. He comes out looking like, some EDM DJ as a knockoff of Daft Punk, whatever else. He has a gimmick on. That thing like it cost a grip too. Like, dude,
yeah.
If he don't make it to the main roster, oh my god, he's going to be in debt.
That man spent some
shit together. Like that.
That man
spent
some cake.
That shit like it costs more than Jericho's jacket, than the Jericho light up jackets. So yeah, he comes out. Then you get Garza. He comes out. He goes in amongst the crowd. He goes to high five the crowd. He pulls a high five away from some geek, and then he kisses the hand of a elderly woman that's sitting at ringside. And I
loved it already.
Yes, and I think I told you that I saw Hector Garza at a Tampa NXT house show a few weeks. Like a month or so ago, and he had a similar gimmick where he was hitting up to the men, and then the women they liked the Garza. They liked the Garza. So
yes,
he comes out and he wrestles, and they're going back and forth, and they're doing a lot of impressive back and forth technical wrestling and reversals in and out of holds, whatever else, with some gymnastics involved. Then Garza actually counters out of the carousel head scissors by just dropping him in a sit out from that position. They start coming out with like the loud strikes with kicks, both of them back and forth, like pump kicks, double boots and stuff. Really good work. Then Garza in the middle of the match was the same thing I saw in Tampa. He comes out in long pants, he's wrestling in the pants, and then all of a sudden He rips some shits off, and he's sexy, and he knows it. And he's out there and the crowd goes wild. Women are fading in the stands. Dudes sitting there hating because a lady just fainted, or they got that. Never mind. I was gonna say
Moss.
Yeah. I was gonna try to make some line about they got the drip, but never mind. I'm not clever enough or fast enough to put that together right. But I had something forming, but I couldn't come out with it.
Garza had the drip, and so did they.
Oh, yep, there you go. See, that's why you're the rapper, freestyle guy. So, so from there, they go back and forth. They end up on the top rope. Spanish fly from Garza. Goes for the pin. Wild kicks. Then Garza picks him up and more or less does like the position that Page used to put people in for the Rampage DDT. Except he more or less like, instead of dropping him for a DDT, he just drops him in a sit out like a sit out stunner type deal. With like his tucked in his head's tucked, and it's like
a neck snap.
Yeah, it just pinned him for the 3 out, and it was a really good match. Probably even 4 stars, maybe 3 3/4.
I think Garza is a star. I'm encouraged by the fact that he can speak English, especially in this company, like really good English. He has a unique finish. He was swaggy. He knows who he is. Like, I'm all in. Like, you know me, I'll make any excuse to root for a wrestler from Mexico. Like, like they all great. Like, they all raw.
Yes, they also pointed out that
what wrestler?
Say again?
I was gonna say what Mexican wrestler you know that's made it in America that has not been raw?
Ooh. I don't think such a thing exists. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so after that, we are then shown a Kushida vignette, and they rave about how, and then he's talking, sitting in the Performance Center, he's speaking English, talking about, in Spanish, my God, in his native Japanese. And he talks about how this is the first step for him and the next step is SmackDown, Raw, or 205 Live. Who knows? So then he says,
throw Kushida in the deep end. Oh, God. Sorry.
Yeah, so he's just there to basically show him like beating all sorts of people's asses. So then he says that time is in his hands. He controls time, that sort of thing. I can't remember the exact line, but it was a cool line to mention about how to allude to the time splitter gimmick. And it's just more or less keeping your eyes on and showing you like he is a star. And
hey. Since he controlled time, can he hurry the fuck up? He's 35 now, Chief. No. And in WWE. Throw him in the deep end. I don't need no warm-up feuds. When's he running with Cole or Gargano or somebody like that? Don't even play with it. This dude's like, there's nothing he can learn in NXT about wrestling. Like, like get your ass out there and start having these matches.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, right now he's been doing the stuff. He had the submission match with Gulak 2 weeks ago, so like he's getting acquainted to the universe. Like I know, but everybody's like, "Look, man, that's great. When's the fucking takeover match?" Right. Yeah, that's all that really matters. So, right after that, we're then shown Damian Priest after his match from last week backstage, walking out. And they start asking him questions, but he's walking away from them, and he's basically saying like, "You haven't seen anything yet," and he just walks off to the darkness. So like he is like, they replaced Aleister Black with him, and he's the new dark, mysterious, brooding character.
Hey, he needs to be the new Undertaker.
Oh my God!
He had a voice that kind of reminded me of Low Key.
I never heard Low Key speak before, so.
Oh my God, he sounds like a fucking mob boss, like in a voiceover.
Okay. So, next after that, we get the tag team champions. Montez Ford, D'Angelo. For those that can't see this because obviously this is an audio medium, Rich started dancing like Montez Ford in my screen, so now like I'm trying to keep it together because I want to not bust out laughing on the on the air. Anyway, so they come out, they do their dance, they go amongst the crowd, they come out, and then out come the Forgotten Sons. The Forgotten Sons are just like, this is how you know they're toast, they're never going to make it. They came out, they were loud and energetic and still boring. Like, you're loud and boring. How can you be loud and boring?
Baron Corbin.
Loud and boring. I find him monotone, but okay, sure, that's how you feel. So,
hey, I asked you this yesterday, but Montez Ford definitely calls his fellow brothers king, right?
I still don't get that vibe. There's a lot of Hotep in that vibe, in that calling people king thing, right? Like there's a lot of mountains in Wisconsin in that, and so I don't.
Pyramids.
Yes, pyramids. I'm tripping. I forgot the joke that I told you. So, I
just see that crown and I get I start wondering. That's all.
I'm sure there are Hoteps in the NXT roster, but we'll see. Somebody will eventually show themselves to be such. But we'll see. I mean, we kind of have the money statistically a rush. Like, so,
he definitely says king. He definitely says king.
He says a lot of shit. He says a lot of shit. So, anyway, backside your hand, we get the Street Profits in the ring.
Yeah, I was gonna say they offer these fuckers a title match and the crowd boos because they don't want to even see these people near the Street Profits.
Right, that's exactly what I was getting at. So they have the match. The whole match is short because it gets cut off. Match starts. They get a meet with Montez in the ring. They immediately get the heat on Ford. Ford makes a hot tag after like 3-4 minutes to Dawkins. Dawkins runs wild. He with punches and suplexes, and then he gets both of them in opposite corners. And then he does running back and forth. He does the running, jump, spinning splashes, which are terrible. He still insists on doing this. Then eventually,
it's like an upgraded Stinger Splash.
Eventually, Jackson Ryker climbs up onto the apron, and you have D'Angelo knocks him off the apron. So he continues on with his hot tag. He ends up laying out one of the Forgotten Sons. Can't remember which one. Montez hits a gigantic frog splash and tries to get the pin. Jackson reaches and grabs his leg and pulls him out to the floor for the DQ. They beat up the Street Profits. Then Lorcan and Birch make the save for them and clear out the Street Profits. Or sorry, clear out the Forgotten Sons. See, I forgot their name that quick. So then, while they recover, the Street Profits, they're at the front of they're facing the entrance ramps, yelling at the guy. Street Profits are jumping them. Not Street Profits. My God, Forgotten Sons are jumping them. Then they turn around and they see that Lorcan and Birch have their tag team titles. They're looking at D'Angelo Dawkins. Did something awesome. He balled up his fist like he was ready to throw down for grabbing his belts. So Ford tries to grab his belt from Lorcan. Lorcan turns away. Birch says, "Chill, this ain't the time." He hands the belt to Dawkins and says, "Don't forget what we just did for you," which means eventually they want a match because duh. So then from there,
I think they should turn them. I think they should turn them too, and really lean into it.
I think that's where they're headed.
So all this told me was, we still got to worry about this Jackson Ryker motherfucker, like just in the tag team division because they don't trust him to have singles matches, but he's still getting a huge fucking push because look at him.
Yeah, I mean, and
this is the same company it's always been.
Yeah. But look, at least he's still down on the card, and he's just, he's with those geeks. Like,
what that mean?
How far?
Look, they can pluck that man in a minute.
How far did Corbin go?
Corbin's in the main event of pay-per-views now.
I'm talking about an NXT. I can't concern myself with
exactly.
what the roster does.
Exactly. Like they'll get that Lars Sullivan. Like, we'll put you in the middle of the card in a title match. Like, they won't actually like try to make you a star. They'll just put you out there. Like, all right, he did it once. Fuck it. We look get him up. Look, I wouldn't be shocked if the night after Extreme Rules they had Jason Riker lay out Seth Rollins and be like, yeah, he's next. Like,
look, this is what I'll say. If they have plans to actually do something with Jackson Riker, every day that goes by, those are more and more. That's more and more hair in the sink or in the tub. So
yes,
if you actually have some legitimate plans with that dude, do it now. Don't fuck around with it. Do it expeditiously. You're gonna have that man lose all his aura. It's gonna be too late. And you're gonna be like, well, he just never had it to begin with. Nah, you're out here cupcaking. Anyway, so then we have what Rich deemed as possibly the worst ring gear of any and all times.
Yes.
Nikos Ricos.
This motherfucker, he came out there with a leather jumpsuit with one leg of leather, one leg cut short, an Andre the Giant style top with one full sleeve of leather with the Greek flag square in the middle. It looked like
the one sleeve was a full sleeve on the other side.
A full sleeve, correct. He looked like someone had cut up Missy Elliott's trash bag from the I Can't Stand the Rain video and converted it into wrestling gear.
Rich, I hate your fucking guts. I had a Missy Elliott the Rain jokes. I had one in the chamber. Fuck you. Damn it. Fine, whatever. Damn it. All right, so
I don't know what the fuck that dude was wearing.
I don't know either.
Change it. Impotent.
Look, like that was the flyest hefty shit you can ever see. Anyway, match starts. It's him versus Nikos Ricos versus Keith Lee. Match starts. They are face to face with each other, and the ref is in the background. Nikos Ricos decides to give an overhand chop to Keith Lee. It sounds out loud and clear and crisp throughout the entire arena and echoes throughout all the Full Sail. Keith Lee no sells it. They show a shot that shows Keith Lee no selling it. Nikos' reaction to Keith Lee no selling it, knowing that he's fucked and in trouble. And in the background, you see the ref looking, and her face is, oh, this Nikos Ricos dude's gonna get his ass whooped. So, from there, Keith Lee gives a double overhand chop to Nikos Ricos' chest. He's ruined. He's done. He's on the ground. Gets him up. Keith Lee hits the ropes. And then just trucks him and sends him flying from the middle of the ring, flying and bouncing off of the ropes on the other side. Keith Lee then picks him up and then hits his fireman carry power slam for the win. Keith Lee is one of the most efficient and effective under 10-minute match wrestlers I think I've ever seen. He's an incredible squash wrestler. If they do keep doing what they're doing on the main roster with him, like, he will get that Braun Strowman slot and do a much better job because he's a way better wrestler than him. He's not as big, but he carries himself in that way, and he's an incredible wrestler. And Vince should have no problem booking that guy, except for two concerns. He seems to be having some of the same issues that Riker has, which means every day that goes by, there's more hair in the sink. And also the fact that, Keith Lee is Keith Lee.
Yeah.
So, but outside of that, he should be a top guy. Like, they should look at him and say, look, Samoa Joe's older. He has too many miles. We missed the window when we should have brought him in. But we have Keith Lee, and we should run with that in lieu of the fact that we don't have Samoa Joe. That's what they should do with him when he finally gets up to the main roster. And I'm still look. Whoever needs to hear this,
they had to promote Lars Sullivan.
Listen, but whoever needs to hear this needs to hear it, right? Triple H, Road Dogg, Sean.
We know y'all listening.
Whoever. I still want my goddamn Keith Lee Dijakovic match. I want it. Give me what I want. Give me what I want. That's not what I want. Give me what I want. So, from there, I believe we get to. I think there's one more thing we have. We have World Tour. We have the World Tour. We have Adam Cole, NXT champion, flying around the world, getting his Ric Flair on. He is more or less hoping that he's pretty much saying that he will not stop until Gargano is broke on the streets. He is in the plane. He mentions that Gargano does not. They never brought the jet out for him. He gets on a plane. He takes his ass to, I believe,
no
Germany.
private jets. Broke.
Yes, I believe he takes it. Yes, you don't have a private. You're not getting flown on a private plane. You must be broke. So, gets on the plane, flies out. He goes to. I can't pronounce the name of the city, but I believe it's German. He goes to meet with. He does NXT UK, and he also meets some of the guys from Slipknot while they're in the full gimmick stuff, and he converses with them. So then, as he walks out after he finishes his match with Mastiff or NXT UK, he talks shit to Gargano on the way out. So then he gets back on the plane and comes back. He's in the back. He's talking to Roddy and says, "Yeah, man, I just landed. I just touched down." So he said he just touched down. He said he'll be there in like 10 minutes. Did you call ahead of time? Did you order it? We don't know what he's talking about. You like, oh, so I guess they are here, talking in code on the phone.
Maneuvering.
They got the chirp. Yeah, maneuvering. Yes. So. Could you imagine?
Look, making sure that worked.
Pencil man geeks out here moving work. Anyway, yeah.
Look, Dr. Britt Baker's in on it too. Like, the dentistry is a front.
Oh my god. If you shave Adam Cole's face, he looks like a geek that would be selling weed on a campus. Like he looked like he
would be in season 2 of The Wire.
Oh my god. So anyway, all of a sudden he says he'll be somewhere in 10 minutes. He pulls up, he gets out to this restaurant, and the name of the restaurant, it says Gargano's. And then they cut off.
So what the fuck is happening here, James? Like, has Johnny quit the business due to depression and opened a sandwich shop?
I'm assuming what happened is, like, Johnny's folks have a mom and pop restaurant. He's showing up. He's going to stun on Johnny's parents. That's what I'm assuming is happening. If I was booking it, that's what I would do. If you're going to show up at a place called Gargano's, I don't give a damn if Johnny's folks actually got a place called Gargano's. I can fake it and pretend like they actually have one and rent it out and still do that, and it will still be just as hilarious. Like, whatever. That's what I would do. And look, I kind of want to see that because that sounds kind of fucking hilarious. So
yes. I need that man to go in there and turn a table over. I don't care how it happens. He needs to turn a table over.
Yeah, like tear some of the pictures off the wall. The Garganos. Look, if the Gargano restaurant is what I think the Gargano restaurant looks like, then like there are a bunch of pictures of famous people on them walls. He needs to rip off some of them pictures. Like, look,
yes.
Fuck that picture of Sylvester Stallone. Take that shit down.
I'm taking that with me.
So then from there, we get the NXT Women's Title match in a cage match. I think it's the second ever NXT cage match between the women. It's Io versus Shayna. Match starts. Shayna does her typical torture porn. Beats the hell out of her. Throws her against the cage a few times. Io ends up getting reversing it. She after getting thrown into the cage a few times, you start to see like scratches and scrapes on her back. So then she reverses it, versing one of them, and gets Shayna into the cage, and she throws running drop kicks, sending Shayna into the cage more and more. Shayna gets control again. trying to think of what happens. Then from there, Shayna is actually from there. She goes to beat on her some more because she actually in this match she brought out MMA gloves, so she starts beating her, hitting her with spots, whatever else, with shots to the gut, working over her gut over and over and over. Then Io fires back and she ends up hitting a German suplex. She hits a bridging German suplex. Shayna kicks, hits her with another regular German. Then Shayna gets the advantage and starts to try to... Io gets the advantage and starts to try to climb. Shayna stops her. They both end up on a turnbuckle. Then Shayna ends up trying to climb after knocking Io to the floor. She goes to climb. Io gets up and then hits a super German suplex off the cage in the top turnbuckle to the floor. So then Io goes to try to escape out the door. So then play and work hard both show up. Marina and Jessamine, they interfere. They close the door because it's a woman ref and they overpower this geek. And they close the door and shut it up. So Io goes to climb. One of Shayna's goons go up and try to cut off Io from trying to climb out. So then by that point, Candice comes out. And at one point in time, Io with the door knocks out one of them and lays them out before that all happens. But Candice comes out after one of them goes into the ring, and she climbs up the cage and then dives onto the second goon. And then Shayna has managed to escape. And by the time she realized she escaped that dive from Candice, she turns around, she catches a top of the cage moonsault from Io. Io pretty much didn't get caught. She should have
did a front flip.
She more or less landed right on her legs, right on her knees. So then she goes start crawling. Shayna cuts her off from the cage again. And it pulls her to the middle, and then Io kicks her off of her, and Io lays out Shayna with the kick. She turns around, starts crawling, gets to the cage, gets through underneath the bottom rope. Shayna goes through the middle and the bottom rope and chokes out Io. Io starts to fade. Io regains consciousness, grabs the door, turns her head, and it's because Shayna is leaned over so far and is fully extended over that bottom rope that her head's extended, smashes the cage door against her head a few times, and then... Oh, I'm sorry. I can't remember the direction, which way it went. I don't know if it was slamming the head against the middle turnbuckle part or the cage, whatever happened.
It was the cage. It was the cage door, hit her in the head, and then she fell forward.
So the first one was sorry about that. The first one was she's banging Shayna's head against the middle turnbuckle. Then after another try against it, ends up hitting her, banging the cage door against her head, and then Shayna, as I said, was overextended over that rope, basically passes out and flips over and lands both her feet onto the floor before Io could. So she banana peeled one. Io is there just like in disbelief that she lost this fucking match because she had it won, and she basically lost for kicking too much ass, right? So then Candice goes to help up Io. Io snaps and beats the piss out of her, then goes out the ring, grabs the chair from underneath the ring skirt, gets back in the ring and beats the hell out of Candice with it. Then she opens up the chair, sits it down, and then she hits her with a brain buster onto the chair, and then leaves smiling, kind of crazed, kind of angry. This is hyper violent. And then she's reacting to the crowd, and we have
cussing them out.
Yeah, we have Heel Io,
evil Io,
and we fade.
Yeah, so to turn the cage, it kind of reminded me like when the Horseman turned on Dusty, and it was just like, Io is at the end of her arc now because she's a failure because she can't beat Shayna Baszler, and when babyfaces have no place to go, they have to turn them.
My issue with it is that Shayna's just still in NXT and she just spinning her wheels, and she's been spinning her wheels since January, and it's like there's nothing else for her to do. Like, she's wrestling these girls, and she's the safest worker in the world because she doesn't hit these women hard. Because if she hits any of them hard, she may break one of them, and then she doesn't really she doesn't really do much in her matches like, she's one of the safest workers in the business. So, and like, she's so safe that you almost feel like she is holding back, and it kind of like messes up the match, at least early on now at this point where it is for me now with her. So
this match was really exciting though.
Yes, it was. Yes, no, because it was a great story. It was a great story. They told in that match, but the thing is, like,
you know how much better this match was than Ziggler and Kofi?
Oh, it was light years ahead. Light years ahead. And it happened before, so it was on a taping. So like they knew what they were up against. Triple H knew what was in the bag. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
creative finish, like I don't think you can do a cage match in 2019 where we've literally seen every finish that you can do essentially in a cage match. I thought this was clever. I don't want to say it protected Io to a certain extent.
It made her feel like a dumbass.
Yeah, I thought she looked stupid.
It was like Johnny when he fucking Wile E. Coyote off the and dislocated his knee against Ciampa at Brooklyn 4.
Especially when you have her moonsault back into the cage. That's why I said she should have did a front flip. She would have won.
Commentary did point out that look how bad she landed on her knees. If she landed, I think it was McGuinness. Nigel said that, like, if she tried to have landed from there to the floor, she may have broken an ankle. And I was like, okay, that's better than no explanation.
Or she could have just climbed down like a regular person because the other two were laid out.
But you got to remember, in the logic of wrestling, like, climbing is difficult, very difficult.
And she beat on Candice's ass for literally no reason. So it's gonna be interesting to see that. I did see a couple pictures. Yeah, Io's gonna be committed to a heel.
Yeah, she's just a sore loser.
It's here.
Yep, and the thing for me is like, okay, so now that she's a heel, so
throws off the hierarchy a little bit, don't it?
Let's do this. Who are the top 5 women in the women's division in NXT, Rich?
So Shayna, Io.
Yep.
I guess you got to say Candice now.
Yep.
You got Mia Yim.
Yep.
You got Bianca Belair.
That's the top 5. So 3 of them are heels, and the 3 most over are the heels. So who the fuck are baby faces, and why do we expect any of them to succeed now?
So
Shayna's already beat Mia Yim twice.
Yeah, she'll probably run into her again.
Shayna's already beat Candice in the Mae Young Classic, in the first Mae Young Classic, and also like in October of last year.
Yeah,
Candice has to go through Io now to even get to Shayna. So like now we're gonna have Mia go against Shayna at the next takeover, and they had one of my favorite matches on TV earlier this year, but Shayna beat her clean.
Right.
So, who is there somebody in the pipeline that I'm unaware of, or what? Because we have a top 5.
I don't know if there's anybody that's a Largo looper that's necessarily ready to pull into action, except like, there's a Deonna Purrazzo, there's a couple others. I can pull up a list.
Rich, can you do me a favor? I'll fill for you. Can you go to cage match, Deonna Purrazzo's cage match, find the last time? Time she wrestled.
Yeah, it's probably like months ago, and I think she's only had like 2 matches on like shows.
She's had 2 TV matches on NXT since the Mae Young Classic last year.
So all that tells me is that she doesn't have an actual debut. That's like when they put Damian Priest out there with Matt Riddle and then sent them off to repackage them. Like that's what that sounds like.
That wasn't Damian Priest. That was Punishment Martinez.
That was Punishment Martinez. He's a loser.
You gotta beat that Ring of Honor off you.
Yeah, got to whoop you. Casey Catanzaro is far away. Dakota Kai she's still out on injury.
She blew Ring out in like November or October. Like she's months away.
Yeah. Then there's Chelsea Green, who had the broken wrist, and she seems far off.
Yep.
Tegan Knox is far off.
Yeah, probably.
They're not going with nobody else.
And Tegan Knox probably an NXT UK property.
Possibly.
Well, hold on, I don't want to call women property, but she's probably an NXT UK wrestler.
She's a Largo. They got her listed as a Largo Looper, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, that's probably because they need her here to rehab. You need to rehab?
Yeah, yes. they need an injection.
If they knew, ultimately the main thing is this is how I feel. Kyrie is in that show open. She was in it after Brooklyn or New York, and then a couple weeks after that, she got called up to the main roster, and then they took her off the show open. Yeah, she was in that whole thing with that whole in-ring craze thing. You can see clips of her there, here and there, but her personal shots they had of her in the thing, they took out. She had to be. They didn't know that she was going to be moved up, and it was clear that they put Candice in the role of being Kyrie, and she was supposed to turn on Kyrie, and now it's supposed to be a big program. So Io's probably supposed to be champion, and Shayna's probably going to have to fuck off to do something else. But that looks like that was the direction, and we don't get it. So we got robbed of maybe of an incredible match. Earth-shattering match, but whatever.
We'll just have to log on to Stardom World and see those matches.
Yeah, they're great. So, those are 4.5-star bangers. So, yeah. So, I don't know what the future holds for the women's division now. Shayna, Shayna's just OP. She got them. She took a few of those L's at the very beginning of the cycle, heading into New York, right after Phoenix, and then she done nothing but get her heat back and then some. And the match on yesterday's show, it was a good ass match, but at the same time, it's how many times do we have to have a match where she beats the hell out of somebody, then she starts selling, then she looks like she's utterly beatable, and then her goons show up, and then the goons get thwarted, and then she wins by slapping on her choke, more or less.
Yeah, we've seen it. It's dated. And we talked about Shayna.
That's been every big match she's been in since
Evolution.
Since Evolution, yeah.
Yeah, and all because Vince McMahon, she doesn't look like a swimsuit model. She's stuck in NXT, it seems like. So, unbelievable. This company will never, ever change. Yeah. Never, 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 never change.
So, you want to get plugs in?
Never change.
What?
Change.
All right, so you want to get plugs in?
Yeah, man. Make sure y'all follow us. Follow me, RichLadder32 on Twitter. Don't come kicking that fuck shit. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the Patreon page, patreon.com/OneNationRadio. Been a little light on there lately, so I need to actually get back to work on that. What else we got going on? Pro Wrestling Tees, bunch of stuff. So make sure y'all follow us at One Nation Radio.
All right. I was going to do more of these plugs, but you pretty much talked about. Oh yeah, you mentioned the Pro Wrestling Tees. You mentioned let's see, Powerslam.tv. They have over 5,000 hours of footage from all over the world. You can use the code of Social Suplex to get a free month's trial. Also be able to check out the rest of the shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Sundays, One Nation Radio. Tuesdays or Mondays, Keepin It Strong Style. Wednesdays, Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. Every other Wednesday, Grown Men Watch This Shit. Thursdays, we have something approximating this show, NXT Then Now Forever. On Fridays, we have Get in the Ring, and then on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite.
Welcome back, Ricky, from Ramadan, and him and Clive did their first show in about 2 months because they were kind of alternating schedules. So welcome back to those guys for putting their first show out in a while.
He out of hiding?
He is back, and he knows it is not a work.
Well, as long as he knows. Yep, well, that's the end, guys. Thanks for listening. Later.
Peace.